Tonight on the Home Shopping Network, we'll be exploring another expansion of the Settlers of Catan in one of the best expansions, Cities and Nights. Stay tuned. Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello and welcome to the Home Shopping Network. Back by popular demand is our series looking at the Settlers of Catan. Tonight, for you, we have this Cities and Nights expansion. This really turns Catan on its head and adds a lot of exciting and well-balanced elements to the game that we all know and love. Let us first turn our attention to the beautiful box before us. You can see our castle in the distance. Our settlers are growing up, getting to the point where they can build castles, have knights to defend and go off and fight, and of course all set across the same bucolic settings that we've come to know and love from the Settlers of Catan series. Take note that this is an expansion. It's not a sequel. As such, it must use the elements from the original game. So if you find yourself interested in Cities and Nights, and you do not yet have the Settlers of Catan, then you would need to purchase these together, which of course we have on special tonight, just for you. Now, let us get in to the box. I can feel the sense of excitement in myself. I adore this version of Catan. Looks like we've placed this in the wrong way. It's probably when I was practicing for this earlier, just to give you a little behind the scenes of how we work here at the Home Shopping Network. So, here you can see we first are graded with the Catan expansion, Cities and Nights, Game Rules, and Almanac. We have that same image from the front, emblazoned on the front of our Game Rules and Almanac. As we mentioned, if you saw our episode on the seafarers, it's important to make sure you hold on to this booklet. So we will get into the components in a moment, and the rules and everything that gets different. There are a lot of different things going on here, and they're quite exciting. But I like to go through that with you with the objects. You can see the rules here show you all the different reference points for the rules, so if there are any issues, you can all refer to the text here. Now you also have an almanac, which will show you all the potential cards. You have your science, politics, and trade cards, and gives all the credits and your index. And then, of course, we have a game overview on the back. It also goes through your turn sequence, which is very important. We'll go through that towards the end. So let us now look at what additional items we get with this expansion. The first thing we'll notice is this barbarian tile. There's a piece that goes with it. This is the barbarian ship, and it progresses bit by bit. So the concept behind the barbarian tile and everything else with the barbarians is that in the whole of Catan, all of you are working together to combat the barbarians. So when the barbarians arrive, if there are less knights than there are cities that are active, then the barbarians will come in and ransack the cities. So when you are rolling your red and yellow die as normal, you'll also roll this third die. And it has its black ships on 3 faces, which indicate that this should move forward. We'll get back to what these others indicate in a little bit. So that is an extra element. Obviously, to help with that, you also need the knights in question. So we have the knights and also these city walls. If you remember from the original game, if you roll a 7 and you have more than 7 cards, then you must get rid of half of your cards. A city wall expands your maximum hand size by 2. So it can be quite handy. So these are the knights. You have a basic, strong, and a mighty knight. A basic knight is equivalent to 1 knight, a strong knight to 2 knights, and a mighty knight equivalent to 3. They are by default inactive, which this grayed outside indicates, and you can pay a piece of wheat, and that will activate a single knight. And then they will be ready to fight against the barbarians. So this introduces a little bit of collaborative gameplay in that everyone together will be hurt if the barbarians attack and there are insufficient knights. So there can be negotiations, and some may give a piece of wheat to activate knights to make sure everyone will be protected. Really adds a nice element. Another addition in this expansion is commodity cards. I also have some other ones which have fallen in. So, these commodity cards are linked to particular resources. So there are 3 resources which produce commodities. The idea behind the commodities is that when you build a city on one of these 3 elements, you get one of the resource and also one of the commodity. For example, here you can see the background. We're looking at the mountains, and instead of just raw ore, we also get coin. The next is our fields or pastures, which produce wool, and they also will give you a piece of cloth if you have a city that can work through. And in the forests, instead of just wood, that can produce paper. Now, the real benefit of these is you can begin to build up a metropolis. But we'll get back to that in just a moment. So, what will happen is if you have 1 coin, you can then turn that in and start to build up your city. So for example, if we've turned in 1 coin, we can now have a level 2. Well, it means we now have purchased a level 1, so we have a town hall. If you recall from the original Catan game, we had a red die and a yellow die. When the red die comes up as a 1 or a 2, then you're able to select one of these cards. And it could be a saboteur. Each player who has as many or more victory points than you must discard half his or her cards to the bank, resources, and commodities. And you can build on up to the church, to the fortress. When you get to level 3, you also get an additional benefit. For our coin, you may promote strong knights to mighty knights. So the level 3 knights are only available to those who have upgraded their coin to level 3. And there are some really great benefits for upgrading to level 3. For paper, if you receive no production on a turn, and the roll is not a 7, you may take 1 resource of your choice. So if you roll a 10, or anyone else rolls a 10, and you don't get any a very valuable thing. There is also, for cloth, you may trade any commodity at the 2-to-1 rate. And so that only counts for your cloth, coin, or wood, but can also be quite handy. When you get to level 4, then you have reached the time where you get an extra point. You get to place one of these metropolises onto your city. This protects it from the barbarians when the barbarians come. So you don't have to have knights, and that city will still be protected. And it gives you extra points as well. However, if somebody else reaches level 5 before you, then they can take the metropolis from you. So level 5 makes that metropolis permanent. And that is the final one. So we do have 4 of these booklets so that all of the players can keep track of where they are up to with each of their cities. So, of course, we have to have corresponding cards, and we have those here. There are 18 trade progress cards, 18 science progress cards, and 18 politics progress cards. You may also have noticed these victory point cards. These come and are given to the person when our barbarians arrive who has the most knights and protects Catan. They earn a victory point. If there are not enough knights, no one receives a victory point. If there are equal numbers, then you get a free resource. So back to this die. The yellow, blue, and green indicate when you would get one of these cards. So if you get blue and one of the numbers that you've built up to, then that's when you get to take one of those cards. So we talked about barbarian tile, commodity cards, barbarian ship, and the event die. So that is all of the components of our lovely game, except one. We have 2 others actually. This is a merchant that can be acquired through the cloth cards, or should I say trade progress cards, and that can give you 2 for 1 on a resource that you place it on, and it's also worth a victory point. We also have these indicative tiles to show if you have a metropolis, and this is just to indicate if your metropolis has been disabled, which can happen in specific circumstances. So those are the elements of the game. It really adds a lot to this already wonderful and fun game, and I highly recommend it for anyone who has enjoyed the original and expansions. We are having a special tonight for anyone who would like to have all three that we have featured here on the Home Shopping Network, which is Cities and Nights, Seafarers of Catan, and of course, the original Settlers of Catan. Now, as I promised you, I will go through the turn sequence. So you roll all three dice, the red, the yellow, and this die. You resolve the results of this die first. So if you need to pick a politics or trade card, then you do that. Depending on the event, white die and the red die, players may draw progress cards. All players produce the resources indicated by the red and yellow dice. All players then produce the commodities indicated by the red and yellow dice. And then you can do the any or all in the following in any order. Trade resources and or commodities with the bank or other players. Build roads, settlements, cities, knights, city walls, and or city improvements. Activate, promote, and or perform actions with knights. And play any number of progress cards. So that is Cities and Nights. It's a wonderful expansion on the original Settlers of Catan. It goes wonderfully with the Seafarers of Catan. And of course, essential for any of these is our original Settlers of Catan. We thank you for joining us tonight and hope to see you again here soon on the Home Shopping